Attention hard asset investors, if you want to maximize your gold and silver holdings, consider owning businesses that own a massive amount of the metal, who will benefit the most as the world witnesses the mother of all gold rallies. With nearly 10 million ounces of gold resources through acquisition, this 50-cent stock has received a $2.65 price target from Cantor Fitzgerald. Learn more at futuremoneytrends.com/goldstock. Greetings and thank you for joining us at futuremoneytrends.com. I have the ultimate guest for you guys today. He's a New York Times best-selling author, a large institutional investor that is heavily involved in the junior resource space in the gold sector. He's the chairman of Casey Research and really a legend when it comes to investing and making spectacular gains. Doug Casey. Doug, thank you so much for joining us.
Well, it's a pleasure. I hope our connection is good because I'm talking to you right now from Buenos Aires, Argentina.
Well, you sound pretty clear. And, right now it seems like this might be the moment for people to add a digit or two to their net worth. You're a legendary speculator, Doug. Volatility and risk is where you thrive. Where do you think we're going right now, not only in the gold sector, but in the overall economy going forward in the next year or two?
These are going to be very interesting times, and I speak in the context of the old Chinese curse. Where the great bear market, recent bear market in commodities started in 2011. I think it's bottomed, and it's heading up. It's not just the metals. But the agriculturals, everything is headed up at this point. Because you've got to remember that all of these governments and central banks all around the world have driven interest rates not just to zero, but to negative levels in some cases, and are simultaneously printing up trillions of currency units. And even while this is happening, while they're desperately doing that, the economy is falling apart in lots of different ways. So it created a super bubble in bonds, a bubble in stocks, and meanwhile, commodities have collapsed and are below production costs in many cases. So to answer your question, the economy is going to be very, very bad. It's the next stage of what I call the Greater Depression. But commodities, despite the fact that the economy is going to be bad, I think are headed up at this point because they're the only cheap thing in the world. And that's where a lot of this excess money is going to flow next.
Are you starting to become very bullish on gold right now?
I'm extremely bullish on gold because it bears emphasis. Gold is the only financial asset that is not simultaneously somebody else's liability. And all of these paper currencies all over the world are going to go to their intrinsic value, which is essentially zero. What these central banks and governments are doing is incredibly irresponsible and stupid, printing these currency units up by the trillions. So there's going to be a panic into gold. And I think as part of that, you're going to find China, maybe Russia, are going to go to a gold-backed yuan and a gold-backed ruble because they want to dethrone the U.S. dollar as the world's premier paper currency, and they're going to do it. Well, the U.S. government's going to do it by its incredibly foolish policies.
Doug?
Yes, I'm extremely bullish on gold, to answer the question.
Doug, the physical gold is up 20%, but the mining stocks anywhere from 100 to 300% right now. How are you playing this? What are you specifically doing yourself and your partners right now to capitalize on this?
Well, look, years ago I developed a formula called the 8 Ps. The things that you look out for when you're going to be buying resource stocks or any kind of stock, but it's particularly resource stocks. And the first thing on the list is people. It's more important than property or financing or promotion or any of the others. So what I'm trying to do is bet on jockeys that pick good horses and know how to ride them. So it makes my life a lot easier because there are thousands of these little companies in Canada and Australia and the UK and the US. It's much easier to pick the good guys running the companies, and they'll make it work. So that's what I'm doing.
Can you
But
give us?
I'm very bullish. I'm very bullish. It doesn't matter that these stocks have gone up 100% so far because they were so far below water. They're still not above water, so it doesn't bother me. It just shows the trend is in motion.
Can you give us the name of any of these jockeys?
Well, I'll tell you the one that I'm building the biggest position in right now. It's Brazil Resources, indirectly run by Amir Adnani, who did fantastically well with UEC, a uranium company, and I think he's going to do even better with Brazil Resources. It's very tough to say which stock is going to be the big winner because there's so many variables, but I think within a year we're going to be looking at several dollars, maybe $5, who knows. It's very undervalued. We're talking 5 to 10 million ounces of gold resources plus the stock's market cap. It's worth that just in the uranium prospect that it has in the Athabasca alone, and they're going to spin that out. So you want to pick, and I hate to be pinned down. That's what I'm buying right now.
Yeah, I noticed that your fund, it did 7 figures with BRI. It's obviously you just disclosed what you're buying, but I did notice that it is still with Marin Katusa, and I know Marin Katusa last year left KC Research, but you guys still seem to be working together very closely. Is that correct?
Actually, we're working more closely than ever because, as far as I'm concerned, Marin is the next Warren Buffett. He certainly will be if he expands out of the resource area. But in the resource area, there's nobody that's even a close second to Marin. He's actually, I'd consider him something of a genius. So, no, we work very closely. We talk, if not every day, at least a couple times a week.
That's amazing. When it comes to these stocks right now, you often hear the stories, and you've seen it and experienced it in your net worth, these 20 and 30 baggers. At this point in the cycle, like you just said a moment ago, a lot of people are like, damn, we might have missed it. Even Barrick's up over 150%. Is this part of the cycle where right now people can get 20 and 30 baggers over the next few years?
Yes, it is possible at this point because there's going to be a panic into gold, and it's going to take gold much, much higher. So that the next commodity bull market is going to be led by gold, and it's going to take these stocks with them because most of these stocks are not just mini caps. They're not just micro caps. They're nano caps. They're pico caps. So that when the public gets involved in these resource stocks, it's going to be like trying to send the contents of Hoover Dam through a garden hose. Now, I've seen spectacular bull markets in the past, and this is likely to be another one. Now, let me say this in the context that mining itself is a terrible business. It's not a business that you can invest in. It's a speculator's business. There are so many variables. It's not a good business. But you don't want to hold these things as heirlooms. But over the next cycle, the next 2, 3, 5 years, I think this is the best part of the market to be in.
Doug, last year in Louisiana, we had a wonderful dinner with some friends, and Marin Katusa, your lovely wife, was there. And when the election came up, and you seem to have spoken positively about Trump. Now, you're an anarchist. However, it was more on the lines of the enemy of my enemy is my friend. And I just wanted to know, what's your current thoughts on Trump? At the time, Trump was still a long shot. In fact, I don't even think no votes had even been cast at that point. Trump, what are your thoughts on him? Because you're an anarchist, you don't like government, But Trump is, for what it's worth, he shares the same enemy as you do in many ways.
That's exactly right, and that's why I support Trump, because he's not a libertarian, although Roger Stone, who's a very close counselor of his, is a libertarian. Trump is an authoritarian. But the important thing to remember is that Trump is the only candidate that is not a professional politician, that's not a member of the deep state. They hate him and he hates them. So our best shot for destroying the deep state lies with Trump. All these other people are total disasters. And yes, he says a lot of stupid things. Okay. But all of these people say incredibly stupid things. And I think that he's, and I've always felt this, that he's, regardless of the persona he's projecting at the moment to get attention, I think he's much more intelligent and much more responsible than any of the other people running. I think he's definitely, unless he's actively defrauded, going to be the Republican candidate, and I think he's going to win, regardless of whether Hillary is the Democratic candidate or not. And hopefully she'll be indicted for one or more of her numerous crimes before that happens. I don't know who the Democrats will run at that point, but yeah, I'm putting my money now, as I did then, on Trump for winning the election.
Doug, it's
not my ideal choice, but by far the best choice that we have.
It's funny. They try to discredit him because he has no political resume. However, in my opinion, and I'd love to hear yours, Trump. I think Trump probably has the best resume to be the president of the United States than anyone in the history of all the presidents because of what he's done. He's the only one who's actually created jobs and managed tens of thousands of people.
That's exactly right. He actually has an understanding of business. Perhaps his grasp of economics is not what it should be, but he understands business, and he has common sense, and he's not part of the political machine. He's not part of the deep state. So, listen, I don't believe in praying, but if you believe in praying, pray that Trump makes it, because he's also the least warlike of all these people. He's the person that's least likely to get us involved in World War III or something that resembles it. So, no, exactly. Look, as you pointed out, I'm an anarchist. I don't believe that there are political solutions to problems. I believe politics is the problem, not the solution. But that said, I still support Trump and hope he wins because he's going to create a much better environment. Remember, we're going into the Greater Depression. This is going to be the biggest thing since what happened from 1929 to 1946, or maybe further back than that. So I don't know who the ideal person is to lead the U.S. government during these times, but he's certainly better than anybody else that's out there I can think of at the moment.
Last question, Doug. You travel all around the world. You've been the international man going back the last 30, 40 years. And you see what's going on in local economies. You see what's going on in governments. And just you have such a better perspective than certainly, even very, very wealthy men. And I just want to ask you, you do see the Greater Depression in the U.S. and then the global economy having, systemic problems. What is Doug Casey's case for some optimism? Is it our technology, or is there not a case for optimism?
Mm-hmm. Well, the U.S. has been going downhill relative to the rest of the world since about 1971, actually, when Nixon totally broke all remaining links between the dollar and gold. But I just got back from a week in Zimbabwe where I was talking to all the top ministers and the highest government officials. And surprisingly, although Zimbabwe is at the bottom of the barrel, and they may be facing a revolution, quite frankly, in the next few months, it's pretty grim there. But all these people understood what I was talking about, and all these people actively were considering instituting gold as money in Zimbabwe, the place that printed $100 trillion bill. So this is happening all over the world. There are a lot of things that are changing. Things are changing for the better everywhere in the world except for the United States. It's completely perverse. But this is cause for optimism. And I'll leave you with a final bit of advice, and unless you've got another thought on this, Dan, it's that it's not just important to diversify investment-wise and heavily into gold at this point, incidentally, but it's even more important to diversify internationally and politically and geographically. And you don't want all your eggs in either North America, either country in North America, Canada, or the United States. It's a big world out there, and most of the world is doing better than we are.
Doug Casey, chairman of Casey Research. You can find his work and his picks at caseyresearch.com. Doug, thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate your time.
Much appreciated, Dan. Talk to you later.